morning, everyone. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Morning, Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You're looking
I
good
s-
in baby blue today.
Thank you. And you in pink. It's like we're just not ready to let summer go.
One last little attempt to some bright colors today.
It's fun. Well, I'm so excited to teach this class with you today.
Yeah, me too. It's been a little while. Looks like we still have quite a few people that should probably jump on. We had a lot of registrations for this class. So we won't hold it up too long, but just a little housekeeping for everybody. We have the handouts attached of a lot of the stuff we're going to cover today. Like the class says, we're covering everything from A to Z. So there's lots of pieces to this that will, go over everything you need when you get that listing from A to Z. So all those pieces are covered in these handouts. So make sure you download those. There's a little section in your GoToWebinar panel that says handouts. I'm also going to put our YouTube channel in the chat. The chat will pop up, that link will pop up and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where this class will be recorded in a couple days for you to rewatch. Plus there's other ones that we've done in the past that you can watch if you want to watch it right away. One from a couple months ago we did. And then any other class we did. So any other tools and products that we've done training on, there's a whole playlist for each one, like Cloud CMA and tax records and all that that's broken down, where a lot of that's covered, all of it covered in today's class. So I'm going to put that in and do a little brief introduction. My name is Taylor Fidowa. If I haven't met you before or you haven't attended one of our classes, I do our communications and marketing as well as teach our photography classes here at My Real Source. And then my co-host or the other trainer here today is, dun dun dun.
That would be Colleen DeLange. I am a full-time staffer here at My Real Source and realtor for the last, makes me sound really old when I say it, for the last 24 years. So I got licensed when I was one, basically. Just kidding. But I'm so excited to teach this class with you because we always get so many emails and things afterward with such positive feedback of, just really, we know how to put listings in generally, but most of us don't know the time-saving tips and shortcuts. And so every time I teach this class with Taylor, I pick up some new little tidbit from her that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you could either do that from here, or I didn't realize it was simple to do this. And so how we're going to kind of do this, as Taylor mentioned, is I'm going to kind of cover the first half, some of the great technology products that you get as a My Real Source member, or if you're coming in from one of our vendored MLSs, welcome. But we're going to cover those tools that are going to make it easier. And why I take that part, Taylor's going to be doing questions. So feel free to ask questions. We wish we could be standing in front of everybody today, but being that it's a webinar, we still want to make it as interactive as possible. So feel free to type your questions in the questions box that you'll see in that GoToWebinar panel right by the handouts that Taylor already mentioned. So with that, Taylor, is it okay if I start showing my screen and we'll jump into it?
Yep. Can one person at least let us know that you can see us and hear us okay in the questions or the chat? That would be great just before we dive in. That would be very helpful because we don't want to start teaching and then nobody can hear what we're saying.
Yeah, that's always the worst when I go to edit it and I go, oh, geez, 3 people didn't hear what I was saying for, 10 minutes. So.
Okay, good. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Lauren.
All right. So with that, I am going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. If you're coming in from one of our vendored MLSs, you may say, well, that looks a little different than my Paragon screen. Don't worry. It just depends on where you're coming in from as far as that center section. So where I am, my broker actually controls that center section. But just remember, if you're with one of our vendored MLSs, you may see that it's your MLS that controls that center section. So you'll see their news and what they have going on. But everything else that we're going to cover is really the same today. And I went with the 4th of July just because it's close to the election. It seems to be what everybody's talking about. I was going to change it to the fall theme, but I'm going 4th of July just because, let's face it, the election is what everybody's talking about at this point, right? All right. So where we're going to start today is really, as Taylor mentioned, we're going to do kind of a soup to nuts, an A to Z. When you're getting a new listing or you're preparing for a new listing, where do you actually start? So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my messy fuzzy hair here, and I'm going to get right into it. Really where you're starting is I like to do my homework first. I like to find, has that property been listed before? If so, what did it close at? How long ago was that? What does the public records say about that property? So the very first thing is I want to go up and generally do my power search. I'm going to use my good old trusty example here. I want to see, has that property ever been listed before? So I like the power search because you can just pop an address in there. It's going to show you, oh, yep, it has been listed before. And as a matter of fact, it's been listed 3 times before. So I'm building my awareness of this property, right? I am now going in, I'm doing all of my homework to figure out, when did it close? When did they buy it? What did they pay for it now that they're getting ready to list it? So I'm going to pull up all 3 of those. And if you didn't see that, I'm just going to go over that one more time because somebody asked me that yesterday. Well, how did you pull all of those records at once? Yes, you could go ahead and you could pull each one individually, but I kind of am building my history here. So I'm going to click on this listings 3 right up here at the left corner. And that's, of course, going to pull open all of those records so that I can quickly see them. So I'm now kind of seeing the history. I can see the date that it was listed. And I kind of, as an agent, I want to go through, want to look at each one of these. I also like to save these because I include these in my CMA. So I want to show that seller that I've done all the homework on this listing. So I want to show them, yeah, I see that you purchased 917. Let's see, it was listed on 3/17 of 22. And I want to have, oh, yep, Ed Martin is the one who sold it. It went pending on 4/8 of 22. I want to have all of that detail, what it closed for. As you can see here, it was sold on a conventional. There was $2,000 in seller concession amounts. I can see all of this. So I want to save this and I want to put this right in my CMA. So what I generally will do is I'll go up to print and I'll do a print plus, and I save it usually as a PDF, generally just on my desktop, so that I can now pull that in to be part of my CMA. But really what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to build all of the detail about this property. So now I can see what was listed in the MLS, but let's say it's never been listed in the MLS. So now I want to start looking at things like public records. Now, one of the nice things is the integration with many. Now, if you're with some of our vendor MLSs, some of them have this, some of them are still working on building it and turning it on. But one of the things I like is the great integration within Paragon, because instead of having to log out of Paragon, now go into BSNA and now find the municipality, wait for that to load, now find the property record, oh, wait, and now get my credit card out and do all of that. There is a shortcut. And that shortcut basically looks like, and I apologize, it kind of looks like a garbage can. We keep sort of razzing Brian, our chief technical officer, about kind of looks like a garbage can here. I assure you it's not. It's supposed to be a government pillar. When you squished it onto the little button, it looks a little more like a garbage can in my opinion. But it's really designed, each one of these little colorful buttons is designed to take you into different programs for this specific property. And the nice thing about that is I don't want to have to, again, log out, go log into another program, wait for it to load, now put in the address. I can go specifically to any of these products for this property. So the nice thing about the integration is, again, with one click, it's taking you directly to that BSNA record. So I'm clicking on that. And now I can go directly into BSNA. One, I'm getting any public record photos right here. And if you're doing a CMA, by the way, that's a really nice thing because if I'm trying to maybe build a cover, this is a great way to just right click and save a public record image. And that way I have a cover for my photo. Some of the other things that I'm really doing here is I'm going to also save this and include it in my CMA for a couple reasons. One, when they say, well, Colleen, where'd you get that square footage? I want to be able to say, well, actually, I pulled this directly from BS&A. BS&A, in case you're not too familiar with BS&A, BS&A is actually the municipality's live record server. So we do not use a feed. You have to wait days for it to update. We actually use the live BS&A server. So if there's a situation, this recently happened to me, where the client owed a lot of back taxes and they were supposed to handle it. It was getting late. They were trying to move. They had a lot on their plate, and it still hadn't been paid. And we need to go to closing. They wanted to go down and actually get a receipt from the public record office that this was paid. So they did. They went down, they paid the outstanding taxes. And as soon as that assessor marked them paid, we could see that and the title company could see it, and they allowed us to still close. So using the live BS&A server is really important. The other thing is this is also where I'm starting to gather all of the detail for putting together your CMA and getting ready to list this property. So the first thing I want to look at is, yeah, it was built in 1973. We've got one full bath, one half bath. We've got 3 bedrooms. This is, of course, all the information that we need to start our CMA when we're doing our search to find our comparables. So as I'm scrolling through, I can also see things like, what is the lot size? Does it have acreage? Does it have a basement? Does it have a garage? All of that is right in here. How big is the garage? And so really what I'm doing is I'm saving this information because now I want to use this to start pulling up all of my comparables. As many of the municipalities use BS&A, they're starting to add things in like unpaid water bills. I recently had it was a really small house in Southern Warren, and it was, I think it was 62,000 when we listed it, but it had almost $1,000 unpaid water bill. I could actually see that, and that was from the previous tenants. So when you're netting out a seller, because water obviously stays with the property, that has to be paid at closing. So it was really great when I could net that right into the seller's net out to show the seller exactly what they would be receiving. It also helps me as a reminder to handle those types of issues. Like if there is unpaid property taxes, I want to address that the time we're listing the property. And certainly when I'm, doing the seller's net out. Not that long ago, I had a situation just like that. I got a call to come and list a condo, and I was sitting, she, very nice lady. She said to me, I am just amazed how much the taxes are to live here. She explained that her mother had passed away. And that she was deeded the house, but that the taxes were, so high she couldn't afford to stay there. So in doing her CMA, I went in and I could, of course, see all of the tax information, but I noticed there was like $7,000 worth of unpaid property taxes. So I actually included that sheet. I included it in my CMA. I made it one of the beautiful pages in Cloud. And I asked her, I said, well, I see this was never homesteaded. And she goes, I don't know what that means. My mom passed, and sure enough, we called the city, we went down, and it should have been homesteaded, and it wasn't, but she didn't know to ask those questions. Again, she was a first-time home, she was the first time she lived at home. She'd always rented up to this point. So by having that in there, it was great. I made a client for life because I went down to the city with her. We resolved the issue, and they only made her pay like a third of the taxes because they said, yes, it should have been homesteaded. So these are all those great things to bring up when you're sitting down with the seller and you're beginning that process of listing the home. So I print this one so I can show where all the information came from in case there is any questions. The other thing I also do is I like to have both what looks like the little garbage can icon. I like to have that BS&A record there, but I also like to pull the Real List report. And the Real List report really is designed to give you other specific information, but sometimes it will show if there's differences. So I always pull both on each property because every once in a while you'll pull up a property where the tax information or the assessor's office says one thing, but then you look and it says MLS says something different. A good example that happened to me was in the real list report for this one home, it said that the assessor's information showed it was one level, but next to it, it said the MLS said it was a two-story home. So I'm kind of like, okay, that's a pretty weird difference. So sure enough, I pulled up to, list the home, and you could see very clearly it was a colonial style home. There were definitely two levels. In the MLS pictures, I could see it. So I asked the question when we were getting ready to list the home, why does it say two levels, but it only says one in your municipality? And sure enough, he explained he owned a dormer company and he had put the second level on. And I said, well, hey, did you ever pull a permit for that work? Turns out he had not. And so in getting all excited and adding the dormer, he just started working on it little by little and never had pulled the permit. So it was one of those things that we were able to address and handle. And we actually went down to the city in that case as well. But the idea is these are all things that you can see just by doing your homework, just by looking at that real list record or BSNA. And you can see right here where it'll say MLS 3 or MLS 2. And many times if there's a discrepancy right next to it, it will say tax 2 or tax 3, whatever that discrepancy is. I also like to pull the real list record because you can also see things like refis. You can also see things like if it went into foreclosure. I like to have all of this. It does include the history, if it was quick claim, when they refied and who they refied with. All of that is generally captured right here. So you can also see the purchase history. You can see here it was closed with a conventional and then an FHA. But a lot of times, and especially right now where people are paying more for homes, it's really nice to see if they have recently refied. So you know exactly what you're looking at when you're going to net them out to tell them what their home is actually worth and what they're going to have in their pocket. So where I start whenever we're talking about listings is obviously you start with doing your homework. You're going to, again, kind of go in, pull up any property records of when the property closed. You have 15 years of history in the MLS. And the odds are pretty good that at some point in those 15 years, they may have had the house on the market or they may have purchased it within that time frame. So I do like to make sure that I have all the MLS tickets. I do like to make sure that I'm going right to BSNA or Realist, and I like to actually include both of those, and I like to pull them into my Cloud CMA report. All right, so once we're starting to gather our data, now of course it's finding those comparables, right? Now we want to list the home, we want to show that seller what the home is worth. So I've saved my property records, and now I want to go in and I want to find those comparables. So to do that, of course, we're going to go into search. I'm going to select that this is a residential home very clearly, right? And so I'm going to start putting in the basic criteria of the comparables that I'm looking for. Obviously, I'm not looking to tell them what to rent it for. I want to sell it. And the most important criteria, of course, is going to be closed. However, I'm kind of a big old school Floyd Wickman fan. Probably not a lot of people even know who that is anymore, but Floyd Wickman was a very, very famous real estate coach, very, very funny back in the 80s. And he always said, Colleen, if you're going to take up somebody's time and be in their home at their kitchen table, not only should you be showing the closed, because that's obviously where the numbers are derived from, but you better be prepared to know that they know every active home in their subdivision and they know every pending home. So you better be able to have those in front of them as well. So of course, closed is the most important, but I also want to have those active and pending in there in case they ask me a question about Joe Fumagalli on the corner. I want to make sure I have that. I also hate those MLS calendars. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I do not care for them at all. You got to click and then click on the date and then click, click, click back. So I know in this area, an appraiser is definitely going to go back 6 months. So of course, that's what I want to do when I'm pulling my comparables. The next thing is obviously I want it to be apples to apples. I do not want to be comparing a 5,000 square foot colonial to a 900 square foot brick ranch, right? So obviously, you want to keep your comparables as close as possible. We could see right from that photo and from the BSNA record, that this is clearly a one-story brick ranch. So those are really the comparables I'm looking to find. Of course, I could see that it was a 3-bedroom home. I could also see that it was a 1.5 bath home. Now there is a field where you can specify full baths, half bath, but I'm going to make this easy. I'm just going to say that I want to find comparables with 1 to 2 bathrooms. Yes, we did see in the BS&A record that it was built on a basement. And yes, we can also see that it did have a 2-car garage. It said that right in the BS&A record. And that's where doing your homework really pays off. A lot of people will say, okay, well, Colleen, what if I have a lot of comps? Well, that's when you could use features, like maybe it has a finished basement. So maybe you want comps with a finished basement. Maybe it has an attached garage. In this low inventory market, I would suggest not using features right now. There's just not enough inventory to pull. Most times, if you can get 3 to 5 comps, you're really lucky at this point. And there's not a lot out there. So I would recommend for now, when the market turns and you got 100 comps and you want to whittle it down, that's really where you're going to start adding more detail, like what's in features. The other thing that generally comes up here is, well, Colleen, what about square footage? What do appraisers use? And where's the cutoff range? No, an appraiser is definitely not going to compare a 5,000 square foot colonial to a 900 square foot brick ranch, right? We just talked about that. So what is the range of square footage that they are going to use? And so every appraiser I've talked to, unless you are working in extremely rural areas, so let me throw that out there, most appraisers are going to use that 20% square footage rule. So we could see from our BS&A record, just jump back there, that our square footage for this home was 1361. So when you're figuring out square footage, I'm just going to do some quick math here. If I take that 1361 and I look at 20%, because that's what an appraiser is going to use, that's going to be 272 to be approximate. So I know that my high end is going to be that 272 plus that 1361, so about 1,600 square feet. Same thing for the bottom end. You're going to take that 1361 minus that 272, and that's going to give you your square footage range. So when I'm figuring in my comps, those are the numbers that I'm going to use. So it works out to be about 1,550 to 16, works out to be 1,050 to 16. Sorry, double click there. It's going to work out to be 1,050 to about 1,600 square feet. That's going to give us our 20% square footage range so that we're finding the right, we're doing basically what an appraiser would do when we're finding the right comps. All right, so I'm going to scroll back up and you're probably thinking, lady with the fuzzy hair, you got 6,000 comps. You're going to be doing a CMA there forever. Well, you would be right, but of course we did not put in the most important factors. One would be school district. Another would certainly be location, 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 right? Remember, we left that completely blank. So I'm going to go to area.
Hey, Colleen.
Yes.
There was a question while you're pulling a comp and doing the search. There is a question that was asking if the house is, in Realist, if the house is showing as a single property home, but it has been a duplex for 20 years, how do you do a comparable for that?
Good question. So I guess it would come down to, if you know it's a duplex, if it's saying in Realist that it could not be zoned properly. So there's a few things you would want to do on that. You would want to see, is it zoned to be a duplex? Because sometimes it is zoned for single family. And that's certainly going to be a horse of a different color when you're trying to sell someone on, you can have rental income. So you do want to make sure that that information is correct within BS&A. And that's where I would check both of them. If you find out, it should have been, it's zoned for a duplex, it clearly is a duplex, I would certainly get that changed, within the municipality. But in that case, you would be searching for multifamily. It would be a totally different type of search, but really, really good question. Remember, you have all different search classes. when you're doing your search. It could be a single family home. It could be if you were searching for a business, you do business opportunity. The difference between a business opportunity too is that's where they're just selling the business, not the actual building. So there can be some differences there too. So it really would be dependent on your search. Remember, when you go to search, you have different types of. So in that case, it would be a multifamily or multi-dwellings. But for today, we're just going to kind of keep it nice and easy. But you do want to make sure that that is zoned properly, and you do want to make sure that you've looked at obviously that BSNA record for that. Darn it, just jumped out of my search. And so that would be a key factor. So hopefully I answered your question, and hopefully I got most of the details there for you.
I think one question, follow-up question was, can she combine the type for a single search? So she said, can I also do a single property home to compare with the multi-list home too?
The multifamily home?
Yeah, multifamily, sorry.
Yeah, that would be a little bit more tricky there, because there's a little bit more detail. And I would have to probably get a little bit more detail to answer that. If you are looking to sell them as separate, dwellings, then that's one thing. If you're looking to have the rental income on the multi-family home, that would be, again, I'd have to know a little bit more detail. It would be a little bit more of a complicated scenario. But for the sake of time, and you're welcome to reach out to Taylor and I with a little more detail, and we could probably help you with that, or obviously check with your broker, because there can be some more factors that you would want to check into. All right, so structure style, I'm just going to go ahead and put these in here since I quickly closed out. Let's do 3, and we're into 1 to 2 bedrooms and our basement. So obviously the most important thing that you're going to be looking at, we're putting in our square footage, you want to make sure you include school district, because that is obviously, that comes up quite often. Well, what if it's in a different school district? You want to try to keep apples to apples whenever you can, right? You want to keep them as close as possible, as well as you might want to include, if it's newer construction, you don't want to compare it to a 1930s style brick ranch. So you do want to keep looking at that information and making sure that you're keeping it as close as you can, because we're really looking to tell them exactly what they would be getting in their home. The other thing is, obviously, location, as I mentioned, is going to be the most important thing. So in order to do that, instead of running an entire city, I want to do what an appraiser is going to do. I want to do a 1 mile radius search. So I'm going to go right into, instead of typing in the city, I'm going to go right into the map, because I'm going to show you a couple quick tips here when you're really trying to accurately pinpoint your subject property and find the right comps, because an appraiser is not going to use comps from 10 miles away. Again, unless it's a really, really unique property or really, really rural, they're going to try to stay within 1 mile. So how do you do that? When your map opens up, that red X is going to show you where your office is. Now you can, under your preferences, change that so your map opens to a certain location if you work out of your home more, or if you want to change that location to an area that you work more, you can do that. But in this case, I am going to use my 41539 Wessel Drive here. Now this uses Google Maps, so I always recommend less is best. Even though I'm pulling up the address for 41539 Wessel Drive, I'm just putting in Wessel. I'm leaving the drives, the ways, the creeks, the boulevards. I'm leaving all of that off. I really just want to put in the route street name, and then I want to put in comma the city. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit that magnifying glass, and I'm going to find that. I always like to do it in 2 steps. So now we've got our subject property right here. The second thing I want to do is, generally when I'm preparing for a listing, I want to see what kind of, how is the neighborhood? Is it an appreciating neighborhood? Is it a depreciating neighborhood? Are the homes very close together? I kind of want to see it. But if I am I'm actually listing a property up in Rose City, and it's 3 hours and 40 minutes away. Okay, so I'm not going to drive up there and drive through the neighborhood and then come all the way back down here and put my CMA together, right? So an easy way to do that is grab that little Google yellow man and set them in front of the listing. Now watch how nice this is. So if you haven't seen the listing before, you can actually see the tag, the little flag that we just looked at on our map is right in front of the property that we're listing. If I kind of want to now walk through the neighborhood, by the way, if you use the Collab Center, your buyers can do this too. I can literally go down, walk through the neighborhood, see the house to the left, house to the right, and I can clearly see these are kind of, got a few ranches, got a couple quads in there I'm seeing, and even a few colonials. So I'm able to check out the neighborhood without having to drive all that way first. I'm also going to hit that arrow and I'm going to go back. So now I kind of have an idea of what the neighborhood looks like. The next thing I want to do is I want to draw what an appraiser would do. I want to use that radius and I want to draw my search area. All right, so I've just done that. And as you can see, as I zoom in, it kind of breaks those flags out. Sometimes you see these little cluster numbers. This means the flags are kind of close together. And I think we all can agree that sometimes that's aggravating when you can't get to the flag behind it, right? So it just kind of clusters them for you. If you zoom in, it will uncluster them, or you can simply click on the cluster and see those particular properties right over here to the left. So I love that. I think it makes it really nice and easy. I can see I'm gathering some comps. Well, what happens if you're in a scenario, you've got all this way and you've only got one comp and you're thinking, well, geez, I could go up to search radius and I could put 2 miles in, but then I'm probably going to get too many comps. Here's a little quick tip. If you go to the edit and you click into the shape, it'll allow you to drag it just a little further out so you don't have to put 1.25. And as you can see, one more comp simply popped right in there by me expanding it just one street. So you don't have to jump to 2 miles or one. You could even do 1.75 miles if you wanted, or 3.5 miles, whatever. But really for me, I like to just try to stay as close as possible. If you didn't get any comps, that's a really easy way to expand your circle. So let's say that you are getting ready to go on your listing appointment and you do your circle, and we're going to pretend for just a moment that this beautiful Clinton River area is gorgeous Lake St. Clair. And we're going to say that that Nancy, who's on our call, has just listed these 4 waterfront properties. So congratulations, Nancy, you've got these 4 waterfront properties. They're all $1 million. They're spectacular listings. And although we're excited for Nancy, we're listing a little brick ranch off the water. And when we bring those in, that's going to royally screw up our numbers, right? Our CMA is going to be way, way off. So if you have a scenario like that, or a scenario where you're in a particular subdivision, maybe half of the sub is new construction, half of the sub is older, 1930s style homes. Those are certainly going to make your numbers not accurate. So in that case, what I recommend is you can always draw a shape on your shape. And I know it sounds funny, but let me show you. So let's say, again, we're happy for Nancy, but we don't want to include her her 4 $1 million listings here, because that's going to really screw up our numbers. So what I'm doing is I'm actually drawing a shape on my shape to reflect the waterfront area. One more step, I'm going to simply exclude that so we don't drag in all of those listings that we really didn't want to include. Otherwise, you end up bringing in all these $1 million listings, and of course, now you got to go either deselect them or subtract them. It can be really painful, so we don't want to do that. We just simply want to remove that waterfront area, so we're actually looking at active listings or comps or that we actually want to use. All right, so now we've got our criteria in. If you've gotten all the way to this step and you have no listings, or you've just gotten one, again, one of the nice improvements that Paragon has made is you can always bounce back to your search. I can always bounce back and add something if I've missed something. What you're really shooting for is is 3 to 5 closed comps. And of course, if actives and pendings are in there, you want to include those simply because if they ask you a question about them, you want to very quickly be able to pull those up and go over them with that seller. So now we've got, I'm going to go ahead and hit our search button. We've got our 12 search results. And if you're like me, I have a little OCD, so I kind of like things in a particular order. I like to see all my actives with actives, closed with closed. So I can see, oh yeah, I got a good amount of closed here. I've got my actives. Now, the next thing I would want to do is I would want to go in and I'd want to start reviewing these listings. How close are they to my actual subject property? And again, my goal right now is to find 5 comps. As you can see, I also have 3 pending. And I've got 1 new construction, which of course I'm not going to include in here. So I've got my comps selected, but again, with my OCD, I hate the way this looks. I hate when you've got all of these ones that you're not using in the same list. So what I want to do is I want to hit that checked button. I now have all of the comps that I'm selecting for my CMA. And now I'm looking for the Easy CMA button. In order to do an Easy CMA, all you have to do is go up to the Actions button. The Actions button I like to refer to as kind of your easy button. If you're looking for it, like me, I'm always looking for the shortcut or a nice easy way to make a great demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Actions button. And of course, I want to move those to Cloud CMA. Do be careful here. There is a buyer tour if you're showing buyers a bunch of homes. Of course, with that buyer tour, I'm assuming that you have a buyer representation agreement signed with your buyer. Hint, hint, nod, nod, in case you're not seeing enough reminders of that lately. But if you are doing a buyer tour, you can create one of those. But in this case, we're doing just a CMA. We want to pull in those comps. We want to make a wowing presentation for our seller. And so I'm pulling them right into Cloud. It's simply 4 tabs inside of Cloud to make that wowing presentation. And if you have gone into the BS&A record, you can even pull in that cover photo if you don't have one yet. If you don't have one, Cloud will use an overhead Google shot. I'm just not a big fan of that. I don't think it looks all that nice. So I do usually save that BS&A record, as I mentioned. And I'm going to auto-populate that. It's right away, if you notice, it brought in that, yep, it's 3 bathrooms, 1 bath. It tells you the property. All of that's coming from the Realist record, by the way. But if I wanted to go in and add a cover photo, I could do that as well. Now, of course, I don't like this. Taylor taught me to take much better pictures in her photography class, which is coming up in November, by the way. And so I want to crop out that date. I don't like the way that looks. Now I've got my great front cover. And I did this all. The hardest part was really just finding the comparables in Paragon. After that, that easy button has got me started. And literally there are 3 tabs. The last one, the publish, is actually a save. So there's really 3 tabs that walk you through this entire CMA creation. The cool thing down here is these listing MLS numbers that you see, those are already pulled over. And it doesn't matter whether these came from RealComp or whether they came from Mishrick or wherever these properties came from. Because of our data sharing with 97% of the state, it will pull those properties right up for you. So now I'm just going to click Fetch Listing. And it's going to pull all of those listings right into one last view for me to review as the agent. Now, let's say I got this far and I'm looking at this 349 and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to use that as a comp. It's just too different than my comp. Instead of starting all over, I can literally just deselect that comp, or I can go into notes and adjustments. I could go through the photos again, right from the MLS. I could put some notes in there saying, you know what, this one had a larger, let's say it had a 4-car garage and we wanted to point that out. So I can even put in notes why this property may have closed for more or less than I think this subject property is worth. So they've made some super enhancements to this. Now, at this point, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Because when I take these classes and I get to this point, I usually go, oh my gosh, this lady with the fuzzy hair, she's teaching us so much and so fast. Couple things to remember is one, we're recording this class, as Taylor mentioned. I'm going to show you where you can find this recording. Usually takes us about 24 hours to get it uploaded. So you can always go back and see step by step exactly what we're doing. So don't panic. Two, everything that we're showing you today, as I mentioned, Taylor has an incredible photo photography class coming up. I've taken it. I can't recommend it enough. I thought as an agent of 20 years when I took her class that I took good photos, but I realized there was so much I didn't know. And so she has a 3-part program that if you get a chance to take it, it's phenomenal. She'll show you, like I struggled with taking pictures of hallways or bridgeways where they always look short and dumpy, like closets when I take them. She showed me how to add more aperture and light to the shot to elongate the shot so you can actually see it. She also has I call it her patented photo because I see it in the MLS so often now. It also teaches you how to take pictures like in those little powder rooms where you're either in the mirror taking the picture, which I hate, by the way, it looks very cheesy, or you've got the toilet like front and center. We all know it has a toilet, right? We really don't need to see that as the opening shot there. So she shows you tips like how to angle off the counter into the mirrors to get the entire room and things I would have never ever thought of. So as I mentioned, it's 3 parts. It's coming up in November. She has it's like the intro class, then her second photography class, and then in the I think she's scheduling it for either winter or beginning spring of next year, the photo field trip, which is absolutely incredible. If you get a chance to take that, she actually takes you to a beautiful fully furnished model, sets up different hard to photograph areas, and then helps you critique your shot. So it's like a hands-on shop. It's really, really cool. I'll show you where you can find all of those classes. But I'm telling you this because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I'm kind of going through Cloud and a couple other products right now. But Cloud CMA, there's an entire whole class on it. There's actually 2 classes, so you can do so much in Cloud. So if you're not able to, jump into Cloud today and do all of this, the Cloud CMA class will walk you through hands-on, step-by-step of every way to prepare a CMA. We're kind of going to throw in a few different products today because we want you to get a high level of all of everything working together. And then, of course, when you're ready to take it to the next level and you want to see all the detail, that's when you can take the Cloud class or Taylor's photography class, and we'll show you how to even elevate what we're showing you today. So just remember, we're doing it at a high level today, but there's even more help. And of course, all of our classes are complimentary. So you're welcome to take it. And if you don't, if there's something you missed the first time, you can always take it again. All right. So just want to throw that in there so you don't feel overwhelmed. So in Cloud, as I mentioned, it is literally these 3 tabs at the top. Right now, this is just showing me the properties that I've pulled in. It's kind of giving me some mini CMA numbers right over here to the right. It also will allow me to put in a price range and a net sheet if you want to. Personally, don't do that. I usually use the net sheet from either ZipForm or Transaction Desk because it auto-populates. I find it way easier, but it's just personal preference, and I pull that right into my CMA as well. And then lastly, I simply customize my report. If I'm printing it, which I don't do anymore, but if I were printing it, I might want to have my layout with 3 or 4 properties on one page. I personally like the photo with max data layout. I think it looks really nice, but this is also where you can pull in things like if you've taken pictures of the property, you can pull those in. I also created a sites. Everybody always would ask me, well, Colleen, are you going to put my home on Zillow? Are you going to put my home on Realtor.com? Where are you going to display my home? So instead of always answering that, I actually just made it one of the custom pages in Cloud so that they could see that. You're always, and if you like something like that, I'm more than happy to strip my information off and you can put your own on. But these are just examples of, handling those objections in your, on your listing appointment to handle and show them, yes, of course, I'm going to put you on Zillow. Of course, I'm going to put you on Realtor.com. These are just the top sites. Of course, you'll be on 400 different sites because that's where my broker syndicates to. But these are ways to bring in things like your as I mentioned, your MLS tickets, bring in your real list, bring in your BSNA, have them all part of this. You can add as many custom pages as you want. So when I'm ready to pull in the BSNA record, I can literally pull it in from my desktop and now include it right in my report. So it's all together and it has that same consistent look. If there's an outstanding water bill, again, you can pull that in, and that way it's consistent and it's right in your report. The last step is simply publishing it. Once you do that, it takes about 30 seconds, and now your report is going to be published. Cloud CMA just released as well a new awesome interactive version that you can sit with the seller and pull in properties on the fly. I cannot say enough about it. I think it's really amazing. Because if, let's say, something closed yesterday and you did your CMA 2 days ago, you're able on the fly to make those changes. But I do like, I'm going to just show you one that I recently did for a property that just closed. I do like that there's 2 ways to present it. If you would prefer to present your CMA in like a more traditional like PDF format like you're seeing here, you certainly can do that. If you would like to, again, use that interactive presentation, I prefer that one now. I think it's really, really easy, and I like that you can pull in properties on the fly if you didn't include them. And I like, again, this would be my BSNA that I pulled in for this particular client. I also like to pull in market stats to show them exactly what's going on in their market. So at this time, when I sat with them, they were down 42% in their inventory. And look what it did to their average sales price, went from 271 to 321. Great ways to educate your seller. There's classes on all of that as well. I do like the way it makes the comparables look and stand out. I do like also that you can add notes to it now. So there's so much you can do. And again, we teach you all of this in the cloud class. So don't feel overwhelmed. It's in the cloud class. We'll also in the cloud class show you things like the new live interactive version. Again, this is something we've wanted forever. We've wanted to be able to pull comps in on the fly. I'll just kind of give you a sneak peek of that. So if you, let's say you are with your seller and you did your CMA 3 days ago, and the seller says, well, what about Joe Schmagegi over there? He just told me he closed at 350. And you know, maybe you didn't include Joe Schmagegi because he's a colonial and this person is clearly a brick ranch, but you still want to be able to have that conversation with them, right? I like this because it shows the differences. The lot size is different. There's additional garage space, or there isn't a garage. It will highlight differences. But I like that if he said Joe Schmagegi over there on, pull in here a little bit so I can find a street for you. Joe Schmagegi, who closed over on Firster here, he said that he closed, and I could pull that up and I could say, well, yeah, but we can see that he's actually 3,000 square feet and he's a 2-story colonial. So he's not really going to be a good comparable for you. I'm wrong. Maybe I missed his comp altogether. I can include it by just toggling it on. That is a really nice feature when you can add something on the fly, or at least be able to discuss it with them. You know, when they say, well, why didn't you include this one? I want to be able to say, well, I didn't include that one because it really wasn't a good comparable or a good likeness of your home. Now you can see I've just added that one in here. And now we could actually review that. It does allow you to even break down the stats from here. So it's got a lot of really cool functions that you can do on the fly. Okay, that's all the time we have for cloud because I want to get to Taylor's portion here coming up. But really easy ways to pull that information in. Remember, when you are ready to start your transaction forms, we provide Transaction Desk and Authentisign so clients can quickly and easily sign forms. They can even fill out their seller's disclosure from their email. I don't know if you've tried that. I love it. For me, I remember the days of going on an appointment, and you'd have the long tape measures. Remember those? If anybody's old like I am, you remember back in the day, the seller had the other end, and you had to go measure all the rooms that way. It was kind of a pain. Then we went to the little wall gizmos, and then you'd slide this seller's disclosure in front of them, and they'd be glassy-eyed, right? You come back, and there's like 9 scratch-offs, and you can't read what they wrote. And it was like, oh, geez, that was a total waste of time. Now you can actually send your seller's disclosure ahead. You can send it 2 or 3 days ahead. They can fill it out, and all they do is save it, and it comes right back to you. So I find it really, really easy and convenient. They just added a new feature too. It just came out 2 weeks ago, where now they can not only fill it out, but they can sign it at the same time. So the whole document is actually complete and goes right back into your listing file. This is all taught in the Transaction Desk class. If you haven't taken that one, that is a great one to take. We'll show you some huge shortcuts in filling out your paperwork. I'm just going to kind of skim over a couple quick things today. But again, the Transaction Desk Authentisign class is a great class. We've got another one coming up next week. And it's a great class to be able to more efficiently fill out your paperwork, where now you can even fill it out from your phone. All right, so let's take a look at that. So now we are in Transaction Desk. We want to start our listing paperwork. So we're going to go into Add. I always like to add the address name. Some people say, well, I like to have Joe Schmageggi's name in there too. That's fine, but if Joe Schmageggi buys more than one home from you, now you got to open a bunch of files to find it. So I do recommend adding in the address and then dash Joe Schmageggi. Of course, I want to apply my listing packet, because that's the name of the game today, right? But I don't want to have to go fill out a bunch of information that already exists about the property. There's already public records for that, right? So I want to go in and I want to select Realist. This is where I can say, instead of looking up the tax ID, instead of looking up all this information, I want to pull everything that the tax records have into my new listing. So I'm going to select that little magnifying glass, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to list this in Macomb County. And I'm only going to fill out 3 key pieces here. I promise you, if you fill out more than these fields, it's probably going to error out. So kind of put this down in your reminder file. When looking in tax records, it has to be very exact. So you only really want to fill in the county, the street number, and the route street name. Remember, this is Wessel Drive, but I don't want to put in Wessel Drive. I just want to put in Wessel, because if they spelled out Drive and I didn't, it may not find it. They're very, very exact when it comes to tax records. Right away, it popped right up. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to use that to create all of my transaction file. So right away, you can see it's already filling in the address, the city, the county, the zip code, the lengthy legal description, the tax number, the year billed, how many beds, all of that is coming over. Now I need to simply include things like how much we want to list it for. The nice thing by doing it from the tax records as well is right here, it's even bringing over the sellers of record. So when I'm ready to have them sign their documents, it's even putting their names and the auto tagging of where they're going to sign. So it's really simplifying the entire process. Again, we'll show you how to do all of this a little slower in our Transaction Desk class. The other thing that I do want to show you here is our data sheet. Our data sheets were actually just updated yesterday. And the reason we updated them is obviously due to the NAR settlement and MLS practice changes. We had to obviously remove commission and compensation from the MLS, so you'll no longer see those. Matter of fact, I actually logged in this morning to make sure that the new ones were uploaded and ready. As of today, they are ready and they're there for you. So when you're going in, I'm going to show you a really easy way. Now that you've had your paperwork filled out, now this, I'm going to kind of explain this to make it as easy as possible. Generally, when I'm preparing my listing paperwork and I'm putting all my stuff together, right, I don't have all the details yet. I don't have the room measurements yet. Taylor's going to talk about Cuba Casa today, which really makes it easy to get those room measurements. But I generally don't have room measurements yet. I generally don't have the final list price yet because I haven't gone to my listing appointment. So what I do is I fill everything out and I save as much as I can into my data sheet. And when I have all of the paperwork filled out and signed, I go back to that data sheet and I add in the missing pieces, like what that final price was, what those room measurements were. The reason I do that is because instead of filling all this stuff out on the data sheet and handing it over to someone at my office, I like to put my own listings in. But I don't want to have to do all this stuff twice. That doesn't make sense. Or even if your admin puts your listing in, you don't want her to have to rekey 200 fields of information. I had an admin, and admins, they do so much. I mean, let's face it, they're answering the phone, they're setting up showings, they're handling agents as they're coming in, they're getting coffee for the closing that's going on. The last thing I want to do, which I used to, is hand over my data sheet and say, hey, can you rekey all of this in, right? That doesn't make sense. I one time had a vacant land parcel that when it was 47,000 and fortunately doing a lot, right? The admin put it was 470,000. I wondered, like, why am I not getting any calls on this? So the key is, if you want to make it easy, either for your admin or to enter the listing yourself, here's the easy button. And I totally love this. The easy button allows you to take the information directly from the data sheet, and it allows you to upload it directly into the MLS. So everything that you see here that's red and required, obviously you have to fill that in to create the listing, right? So you're going to fill in all of the red required fields. Once you've done that, you're going to click this button that says upload listing. Now, basically what's happening behind the scenes, and let me close some of my million tabs here. Behind the scenes, what it's just done is it's now created a partial listing. So if I go into my parcels, I'll show you what my office sees. My office admin, as well as myself, can see these partials that have been created. So when my office admin, let's say she wants to review what I put in remarks, or maybe she's going to add the photos and make it live, she can literally go in, open up that particular listing, check it over, and then all she has to do is hit save, and that listing is now live in the MLS. So instead of having to rekey it, you can simply now make your listings live right from the data sheet, which, by the way, it's just personal preference, and I know everybody's a little different, but I find the data sheet to be so much easier to fill out than the actual entry through Paragon. So let me kind of show you what I mean. The data sheet we designed to be very easy and very specific. You don't have to open up each section in Paragon. You can literally go down and check everything off. You can copy and paste room sizes in, especially Cuba Casa has some brand new features that they just released where you can actually copy from Cuba Casa, the floor plan app, and paste your measurements right into Paragon. So super cool. So you can copy and paste directly into here as well. So I think that this is really very easy. Some people may prefer to go in and add a new listing in Paragon the traditional way. Oops, let me go back in. I find it easier to do it right from the data sheet. But if you prefer it this way, but you can see how many, there's a lot of containers. Some of the fields like the ZLR source, it's a little hard to know what they're talking about here. So I just think that the data sheet's way easier to fill all this information out. Just my personal preference, you could do it either way. Lastly, when you've pulled over all that information into your new partial listing, what you do want to remember is you now want to add in your disclosures. Disclosures are a required document. And so all you have to do is click on Add or Edit Documents, Add New, no unzipping of files. I know I used another MLS previously where it was really hard to add documents. I just want to be able to pull in a PDF and label it Seller's Disclosure. And then you're going to just select if it's public or private. I'm going to make this public. And now I'm going to hit save. Now that document is now saved. And by the way, If anyone goes to write an offer in Transaction Desk, you can see it's added here, it automatically, when they're working with their buyer, it automatically pulls in that seller's disclosure and lead-based paint disclosure. So the nice thing about that is it's pulling those documents in so their buyer can sign them all in one easy step. Don't worry, if you make a mistake, you can also delete it. So it's pretty easy. All right, well, with that, I think that is my section. And I'm going to now turn it over to Taylor, who's got the really fun stuff. She has how to better promote your listing, how to do captions and descriptions, how to make your listings really stand out. So if it's okay, Taylor, I'm going to bump this over to you now.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Right.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I covered it. Hopefully I got everything.
Yep. All right, so we should be seeing Paragon right now.
I see it.
Okay, all right, great. So just to kind of take it from where Colleen left off, let's say she left off at letter M. Let's go from there. And we're going to we're going to go into that listing that she started from the data sheet. Now, before I go into that, I might have missed it if you covered it, Colleen, but when she saved that data sheet and those fields that she went into, saving it as a partial is what we recommend. So you will see that under the listings tab, there's maintaining your listings, and partials is an option. So when you populate that data sheet into the system, you can simply save it as a partial, which is a draft. And we recommend doing that because of the way the data flows. So for one, it's another set of eyes looking at it, possibly if you have an admin or an assistant, or coming back a little bit later with fresh eyes looking at it. But even more important is the way the data flows from the MLS. So you want to make sure that you've had your photos added, your tours, your documents, everything that makes it a perfect listing to go live, because it's live one time as a new listing. So why is a new listing important? Well, you have the auto notifications that go out, and it's flagged as a new listing. And it's also received much faster, up to 30 minutes for all of our shares. So that is IDX onto websites. That is syndication, the Trulias and Realtor.coms. Also the data sharing. All of our data shares that are regional, it's immediately live. But any other data share that we have, our exclusives or our direct data shares, those take about 30 minutes to come on over. So if you have a new listing, it gets flagged a lot quicker as a new listing. So the partial function is definitely something that we recommend, because you want to make sure that those are all ready to go. If you were just to kind of put in the bare minimum of your listing, one photo, only the required fields, none of the extra stuff to really promote that listing, you go in a day later and add it. The problem is it's seen from the back end of it's called a media file update or a listing update. And that can take anywhere from 4 hours up to 24 hours to be updated on all of those places. So we recommend that using the partial, which Colleen, starting from A, leaving it at M right now for me to take off from my part, and it's saved as a partial in her account. So I can go in now as that agent and tab through each of these required fields. Some of the stuff, let's say I still needed to figure out. I want to go in, and what's really nice about when you're in maintaining the listing, you can go in and you can just minimize all these boxes so it doesn't seem so daunting. And down here is one thing I do want to point out to finalize that listing and make sure it's perfect and ready to go, is we have a tours section. Now, what I really like about Paragon's tour section is that you actually have 4 fields. So you're not limited to just using one type of promotional link. You can do, you know, your own custom one. You can have a different sort of like aerial view video. You can have a Matterport interactive, those dollhouse links where people can navigate from their keyboard or their fingers on their phone and tablets. And what's even better about it is there's branded and unbranded. So if you were to work with a third party photographer, or you were to make your own tours, which I'm going to show you an example of what Colleen has done, you can put that specific link in, and Paragon knows exactly from that field where to display it. So if it's branded, it can go out on all those advertising sites. It can go out on your single property websites. If it is unbranded, it goes into all the MLS channels. So it's going to be there on the collaboration center, those auto emails. Anytime an MLS search comes up, it's not going to have that logo and that name. It's also going to be non-branded for IDX. So it's smart in that way, where it can pull those fields, and you also have multiple options to promote this listing, because now there's more options than ever, from creating your own videos, interactive tours, aerial, that kind of stuff. So, but if you aren't in that place where you want to drop a couple $100s to get a professional video done, but you just want to have a nice tour to really talk about the property, potentially promote yourself a little bit in there, Colleen, I have 2 video examples that Colleen made of little tours, and she just did this on her phone. You can use an app called Clips, where you can kind of just trim it if you kind of run on a little bit, or you just want it to you know, be a little bit smoother. But Colleen just kind of shot this straight with her iPhone and walking through the home, narrating some of the features, and uploaded it to her YouTube channel. So you can go in, create a YouTube channel, and then upload that video right from your phone, and then add that link by simply hitting share, add that link, and paste it right into your tours. And then if you have maybe an aerial one done from a photographer, you can paste that one in. Just make sure that when you work with somebody, you always ask for a branded version and an unbranded, so that it's out there on all these places. So just to kind of give you a little snippet of Colleen's tour that she made, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Want to take you on a tour of my new listing at 50839 Marshall Lane in beautiful downtown New Baltimore, just steps from Lake St. Clair. Let's go in and take a look. Stepping inside here, we have an entrance to the 1.5 car garage. We walk right into the living room. It does have a gas fireplace. And then just off to the left, we have a full first floor bathroom. And then just over here, we have a dining room just off the kitchen. That's very neutral decor. Just outside, you have.
So Colleen, for this video, she had just naming the address and walking through the home. And then she changed her intro for the branded. And in here is where she introduces herself and her brokerage.
Hello, everyone. Colleen DeLang with Keller Williams Lakeside. Want to take you on a property tour of a new listing at 50839 Marshall Lane in beautiful downtown New Baltimore. Actually, we're just steps away from beautiful Lake St. Clair as well. So let me take you on a tour.
So same tour that she did originally, she just changed the intro if you want to do a branded or an unbranded, just to have that little extra touch. And then also keep in mind a lot of different photography companies out there that do these tours and all these other little bells and whistles to promote your listing. And you can go in, tab through all these fields, get everything all set and ready to go. And now let's go in and add those photos and go over those features of our photo maintenance. So when you go in to upload a photo, you can add up to 99 photos. Little excessive, but just know you can add 99 if you want. Depending on the size of the home, you know, I don't have a magic number for that I recommend, but I do think that quality is more important than quantity, as long as you are covering every space in the home. And for the main spaces, I recommend having 2 different angles, as well as maybe a close-up one here and there of some feature of the home, if there is anything like nice backsplash or a nice sink or cool fireplace features, you know, things like that, where you can be a little bit more creative in your shots. I do cover that in the photo class, and how to do that and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's my recommendation. It could be up to, you know, 30 photos, but depending on the size of the home and some of the features that you might photograph, you know, it could be upward of 50. It's kind of, you know, 30 between 30 and 50, I feel like it's kind of that magic number for promoting your listings. But you can upload 99 at a time. We do have very high resolution, but without it bogging down and being really low. You can actually upload a photo that's up to 3072 by 2300 PPI. Really what that means is it's going to be a lot sharper, a lot crisper, and it's also going to really fill the frame on people's devices. So you're not going to have any really harsh black borders. When they zoom in with their fingers, it's not going to be pixelated or grainy or anything like that. So that is a really, for right now in technology, 3000 PPI is really a great resolution without it being super slow every time you're clicking onto the next photo. So uploading those, it's going to upload them in the order that you selected them. It uploads fairly quickly as well. And then the way it's going to display when you're maintaining your photos is the file number. So, or an alphabetical order. But what I really like is that you can just drag and drop. So I'm a visual person. I have a photographic memory, surprising, I know. So for me, I like to just kind of see it as a whole and go in and drag and drop in an order that makes sense to me. But I do feel like there is a magic flow, just like there's a magic number of photos. There's a way to kind of tell that story of the listing. So dragging and dropping your photos and seeing that, you know, kind of as a whole view like this, I think is really nice, because the way that you would want to add your photo order is that experience, either, you know, coming in from a tour, covering that first floor, moving up to the second floor, concluding in the basement and backyard. Or for this example, I just did kind of coming home. It had a really nice feature of a mudroom, which I'm going to dive into these photos in just a moment, so bear with me. And I decided to do this order of photos as if I was coming home from a long day at work, walking in, because it had a nice mudroom. So once I select the order of my photos, I can then go in and I can actually add, edit the photo. Let's say it comes in upside down. A lot of times if you are taking photos with your smartphone, it changes the orientation for you. So if you were to send those files to your computer, it could potentially be upside down. And what a pain to have to go into the photo editing on your computer or another product that you use and change that orientation. You can simply just do it right here in Paragon. You can crop if you want and go in there. And then the best part of it, besides the high quality resolution and all of that, is the captions and descriptions. So what a better way to market these listings, because you get all these listings coming to you with all these data feeds and remarks and all that. What's the first thing people click on? the photos, right? That primary photo that stands out. And then as they're scrolling through the photos, they have that label, they have that description. This is your way to sell these features of the home that maybe are kind of buried down deep into the listing report, or they, you know, they're just, you're kind of giving them that story of living in this home. You're really selling that home, and that's what the seller wants from you. So this mudroom is an extremely useful mudroom with custom built-in benches, hangers for backpacks, purses, briefcases, and more. It also has an office space for bills and receipts, allowing your kitchen counters to be free of clutter, as well as a large walk-in pantry and coat closet. So you have up to 255 characters to go in and write that little paragraph. You can highlight features of the home, but for me, I like to tell a little story about the home. So I'm highlighting this large island, great for entertaining, pointing out that there was soft close cabinets, all that kind of stuff, and really taking advantage of these captions and descriptions, because those get sent out to all the advertising, those display on your single property website, as well as all those listing reports. So you can go in and you can take the time to really add those, okay? So please do that. Now, if you need a little break for a minute and you want to come back to the listing, you can just simply hit save right here, and then go in and you can look at that report and kind of see how the photos flow. Let me save it just in case it's giving me trouble. Okay. And see how those photos flow. Now here is an example of that high resolution. There's no thick border. You can see how sharp and how crisp these photos are. And another thing that I want to point out is that primary photo. Your primary photo should show the whole house. It should have a third of the image should kind of roughly be the sky, the front of the home, the whole home, and then part of the yard, driveway, grass. This is a technique called rule of thirds. It's very visually appealing for a consumer. Artists use this all the time. So it's something that just a little sneak peek on my photo classes, something that I talk about are these kind of techniques to apply directly to real estate, right? So there's photography for all different types. There's all different types of industry photography, right? So weddings, portraits, fine art. But for real estate, I take these known techniques and tie them in directly for examples that you can use out in the field. Also the type of lighting, how to manipulate your lighting, how to read lighting, and get that most contrast on that primary photo, which this is a photo example with high contrast. It has the bright blue sky, it has highlights, it has shadows without being too harsh. So we go into that, but you're gonna always wanna start with that primary photo and then a floor plan. So Colleen mentioned Cubicasa. I have some information on that I'm gonna close with today. But Cubicasa is an included benefit in your membership with My Real Source. It gives you the square footage of the rooms, and then you can also do a scan. You'll get an image and a PDF that you can upload that image into Paragon. So that primary photo followed right by the floor plan to really give them that continuity of the home. Then either the entrance or the mudroom, that kind of experience, coming home, whatever you think makes sense for that listing. And then really get to the meat and potatoes of the home, but make sure that it flows. There's no gaps in the way you're, uploading the photos as you kind of walk through the home. So get to that main living space, either a living room or a kitchen, couple different angles, couple close-ups. I really liked how they had this listing had, this home had a lot of matching backsplashes throughout the home, which I liked, each bathroom, kitchen, and it just kind of was really neutral, nice. So I wanted to highlight that, all the places that the backsplashes kind of matched throughout. Couple close-up photos, and then another angle. So we really go into this and the strategy behind the flow of your photos, giving little transitional shots, how to read the lighting, how to do just straight up natural shots where you don't need all these extra lights and everything. You know the settings in your camera, you know how to do all that. So you can see that the little descriptions that I wrote, some of them I just have a title or a label. You don't have to, use 250 characters, but it just really is nice because it points out little features of the home. That this is a great lower level office space where I am next to a half bath. I use the descriptions to my advantage there. Colleen mentioned the associated docs right here. It's all just in a little section, listing maintenance, little section right here. There's no jumping around. You can go right into edit and add your documents. So you can add those associated docs. And then you can also schedule your open house and tours. So what's really nice about this is you kind of have some flexibility here depending on what your seller wants. So you can do live stream tours. So you can actually schedule a tour and go in and make a Facebook event for it. People can join that link and you can walk through, talk to people directly live online using Zoom or any kind of other live stream platform. You're not going to take it to that level. You just want to schedule a tour or open house. You can go in and you can choose that date, time, all of that. And what's going to happen is that listing ticket, it's going to display the open house. Your single property website is going to display a link to that open house so that they know this Saturday at 10, they can, drop into an open house if they want to. And then you can add a tour as well. So once all of this has been added, your scheduled open houses, if you desire to do that, documents, overview, the report when it's done, captions and descriptions, adding all those required fields as well as any extra fields that make sense for you. You can go in and you can save that listing and make it live right away, or you can save it as a partial, come back a little bit later with those fresh eyes and then make it live. When you've made it live, you can then promote that listing. So one of the things that's a member benefit that we created a few years back, just because we were seeing so many agents excited about their new listing and wanting to get it out there, wanting to prove to their seller that they have the listing is out. It's in the MLS, it's out in the world, everybody can see it. The problem with that when you're using some of those third-party sites is there's advertising from other agents as well as other listings kind of popped up all over that property. So we wanted to design something that promoted you, the agent, and promoted that specific listing as well as gave you some lead capture. So once that listing is live, so let's just pretend right now that I'm saving this listing, it's live, bam, it's in the MLS. Anybody who's set up with a search that has that criteria that matches, they're going to get a notification right away through Collaboration Center, auto emails, new listing alert. If I just have one photo, I already mentioned this, but I'm really going to hammer this home. If I just have one photo and I'm going to go in later and add the remaining 30 photos, guess what? Those people that set up on a search, they're just going to have to go back and click that listing again and hope that there's more photos added. They don't get any push notifications to let them know or emails letting them know that that is that it's a new listing, okay? As well as your client goes on and sees their home on a third-party advertising site and they're like, where are all the photos? Oh, they're coming, don't worry. Well, anybody that's seeing that and it pops up, there is an algorithm that shows them, hey, new listing, new hot listing, and that's what they see, and it's one photo. Don't do that. So once you have that listing live, ready to go, you can actually promote it on your Facebook page. So let me pull one up that one of our trainers has right now, Lisa. If you've taken a class with Lisa, she's amazing. She's a great teacher. And that listing ticket has a single property website. Anybody can click on this and see it, of course, but you can go in, you can open it up right from Paragon, or you actually get an email shortly after your listing is live that will say your single property website is ready. So you can go in, you can open that single property website up. Has that large primary photo, bam, has your name, your brokerage, your contact information, lead capture form right here, a beautiful gallery that they can click on, large photos, high resolution, none of these ugly thumbnails that I see on some people, some agents sharing their listing tickets. Let me close out. You can click on the photos from here to, oh, hang on. I think I'm gonna have them move this ADA icon right here because that's a little annoying when I open up the photos and need to close out of them.
Yeah, if you, the only way to, yeah, it has happened to me quite a few times too. If you hit escape, it will, but yeah. I meant to put that on my list to talk to you about.
It used to be down a little further, so I don't know if he did an update or something, but okay, that was a little frustrating. I'm gonna email him right after this class. But I like how it's icon based. This was something that we worked with our website developer on, and kind of the layout and how it should be displayed. All the fields that are relevant to a consumer to know, a map, and then another place where you can get that lead capture form. Fill that out. They can inquire about that property, request a showing. And if Lisa had any tours on this property, if she had an open house scheduled, there'd be an open house button and tours button all over this that they could click on. And that was nothing extra that she had to do. It came right over from the MLS. Now, once that listing is there, you have it pulled up, you're loving it, you can actually go in and you can share that on Facebook. There's all these icons right here where you can go in, you can share those over to Facebook. Or for my example right now, I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna post that on my Facebook. Write a description. You can go in, I recommend 3 sentences roughly. One thing that's going to be an attention grabber, another thing that's going to point out a nice feature of the home, and then a call to action. So check this listing out, contact me for a showing. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You know, you look in and I'm going to share. Okay. And then right here is where I can go in and I can see that single property website. Click on that. And I really like that it displays that large primary photo. Now, once you've had this listing out there, your listing's been live, a few days later, you can kind of check out some analytics, which is really nice to see. If you go under resources, you can get that hit count with list track, the activity that's really going on that property. I pulled up this exact one that we just shared. And you can go in, you can see all the places that this listing has been displayed, how many views you're getting, how many clicks, visitors on the exact site, broken down by each place that it's published. You can check the performance, goes back 30 days. You can do it custom. So if it's been live for more than 30 days, you can set that, or 7 days. You can narrow it down if you want to. And it gives a lot of really nice detailed reports on like the type of report that people are viewing it for, agents even, all the syndication sites. And then if you want that specific listing, you can go in, you can pull up the analytic, send a report, view a report on that specific property. So Lisa has 2 listings right now on Palm Beach, as well as Wena. I'm not sure how you would say that, but Wena. And then seller property report. And this is something that we recommend that you could send over if you do have a seller that's kind of inquiring on a few things, how things are performing, you know, how are you getting my listing information out there. And lastly, I talked about the floor plan that should follow your primary photo, but we have this product. It's been, how long would you say we've had it, Colleen? About a year?
I think longer than that now. I think we're probably at a year and a half.
Yeah. So this is probably one of our most favorite tools that we've been getting feedback on lately from our members, and it's Cubicasa. So Cubicasa is that floor plan generating app. If you download it right from your phone, or actually if you click on the specific link from resources, that's going to give you the account that's linked to My Real Source, where you get up to 5,000 square feet included in your scans. As many listings as you want. You are a member of My Real Source, so therefore you get these JPEG images, these reports that you can get sent to you right after you do the scan. It's usually within about 12 hours, you'll get that report sent to you, that image, sometimes sooner. So when you create your account from Resources in Paragon, that specific link, you'll have your email and your password that you set. Now you go in and you can download that app on your phone. And what it's going to allow you to do is scan from the lower level up or upper level down, depending on where you want to start. It's going to give you tips on how to scan. You're going to follow, you know, the walls going around the house, open all the doors, bring in a lot of light, do one continuous scan. Don't stop when you move to the next level or anything like that. And when you finalize that, it's going to send you that image to your email. You can also, in the app, go in and you can customize your logo and your name and your colors and the room names if you would like. What's really nice about it is how accurate the square footage reading is. The technology within the app built in, you know, taken from features in the home, allows it to really scan that square footage. Colleen had her house built many years back, and she has the floor plan, and that exact square footage, I think it was pretty much exact, right, Colleen?
It was less than an inch off in a bridgeway. So I was very impressed. And bridgeways, you know, it's a little harder because you've got a lot of light on both sides. They're not like structural walls. It's just kind of a railing. But yeah, I was amazed how on point it was.
And what's nice too is if you do go over the 5,000 square feet, it's very affordable. Plus you get a 25% off discount on anything extra that you add, any extra square footage, any tours. So you can, without it, you know, breaking the bank, you can go out and you can scan the whole property, the patio, the second dwelling, the, you know, pole barn, that kind of stuff. And it's going to create this large image with everything in there for you. And it is actually a source for square footage. That's how accurate this reading is on the square footage, as well as how accurate it is on the shape of the home, because there's real people that are getting this file sent to them that are creating it. It's not just, you know, just the software itself doing the best it can. It is getting analyzed by real humans behind the scenes, making sure everything makes sense. So that's nice, because there could be things similar to my house. I kind of have a funky layout in my house where we have stairs in the middle of the living room that go down. We have a really big fireplace that could look like a wall, actually an obnoxiously large fireplace, and it's open on both sides. And you could easily think, if a computer, you know, was looking at this, could easily think it's just a wall. But when they're actually seeing it and they see it's a fireplace or baby gates and it's not, you know, just a door, those kinds of things. Tons of boxes in my basement. I was worried that it wasn't going to get the, you know where the wall really was because of the stack of boxes we had in some areas of our basement. Did a wonderful job creating that report. And there's other features too, different tours, like I said, 25% off discount. But just to give you a quick, I don't know, we're a little pressed for time, but just to give you kind of a little quick tour of how this works.
Go to your happy price line.
Should have had this loaded before, so hang on. Come on. All right. So this is after you've downloaded the app. You open up the app on your phone and walk through following the walls in the home. And what's really cool about this too is it does give you little tips right before, little friendly reminders, because I know this is a lot of information in the class, of stuff to do before you start your scan, like opening the windows, or opening the lights turning on the lights, opening the doors, that kind of stuff. Slow down if you're going too fast. And once you've done your scan is when you have that option, let's get to the end a little bit, to create your report. So nothing really extra that you have to do or anything like that, but you're done. Now you go in, you add that address, you choose the options that you want. You can go in and you can edit, load that scan to submit it. And then after that order's been sent, now as long as you're under that 5,000 square feet, you can, it'll just be free. But if it's over that, or you do anything extra from the information that they sent, that you sent over, you can, pay right there on your app. And then this is within here is where you can download the image too, if you would like, and edit it, whatever you need to do, which is really a great feature to have kind of that customization. So one thing I did add to GoToMeeting was the link to the next Cuba Casa class. I think it was October 9th or 8th. So I put links so that you can register for that right in the chat, as well as the upcoming photography classes. And I think we do have a Cloud CMA class too coming up, right, Colleen? Because that was a good portion of this class that we covered.
We do.
So another Cloud CMA class coming up. And that's the rest of my role, I believe, right, Colleen? And just some statuses from now.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think you did a great job as always, and you cover so much, and yet you're so clear and easy to follow. And
thank you.
Can't thank you enough.
Was there any
like
questions
I said,
or anything?
We didn't get any questions. I think
Okay.
you're always very concise when you go over that. Let me. I'm going to show one quick thing. I'm going to just bump myself to organizer real quick and show one thing as we wrap up. Let's see. Okay, so we did add a couple of things that I kind of wanted to touch on. Can you see that okay, Taylor? Are you seeing my screen?
I see Camtasia right now.
Oh, okay. So let me. Okay, how about now? Do you see Paragon?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I kicked into the second screen. All right, so one thing we did add to what Taylor was just showing you is Cuba Casa is becoming so popular now. And as Taylor mentioned, she's added the link so that you can sign up for the next Cuba Casa class. But we've even added it when you're adding in your listing. You can even say you got the source of the square footage from Kubacasa now. So you can say that, we find it so accurate, very easy to say, hey, this is where my square footage came from. So Brian just added that integration in there, which I love. A couple other just points I wanted to touch on real quick. I'm just going to grab one to kind of show you. A lot of people will say, well, Colleen, this has been on the market a little while and I want to refresh the listing. And it used to be way back in the day where you could put the listing on, take the listing off, and you could change it by $1 and it would refresh the whole listing. So a couple things you want to know there. Is if you have a listing that you want to refresh, how that actually works is it has to be off the market for a full 30 days. Once you put it back on the market on day 31, that's how that cumulative days gets reset. So a lot of people will say, well, Colleen, it says, it's been on the market 400 days. How do I get that to go away? Because of cumulative days, it's a little different because remember, Zillow and Realtor.com and all of these IDX platforms started this cumulative days. So that's how they keep track of it. So if you do want it to be a new listing and you want it to reflect brand new on the market, 0 days, you do have to have it off the market for a full 30 days. And then when you put it back on day 31, it resets that counter. So I wanted to point that out. The other thing is you can, if it is your listing, as you can see here, you can copy and clone a listing. I talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh my gosh, I had a listing, it didn't sell, they called me back 6 months later, I want to put it back on the market. Do I have to go through that whole process again? The caveat, it does have to be yours because you don't want to be stealing anybody's photos, or anything like that. And yes, you can copy that listing that you previously had and you can turn it into a new listing as well. The last thing I want to touch on is the coming soon. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than I normally say. If you're with a vendored MLS, meaning if you're with Midland or Saginaw or UPAR, you're coming in from one of our vendored MLSs and you're joining our classes, your rules may be slightly different. But we get a lot of questions here. And for my RealSource members, I want to point out what the coming soon rules are. If you're not familiar with why coming soon sort of appeared, is we had some agents, unfortunately, across the country, not just here in Michigan, but they were kind of behaving unethically. And so NAR put a rule in called Policy 8. And basically what it says is these agents were what we call pocket listing. They were putting signs in front of listings. And, the buyer, you're driving down with your buyer, right? And the buyer says, oh, Colleen, I love that house. Let's go see that house. And you call the number on the sign because it's not yet in the MLS. Nobody calls you back. You call the next day. Now your buyer's getting a little frustrated because there's not a lot of inventory out there. So you call, buyers, why can't you get us in there? And then lo and behold, it's pending. And of course, it's pending with the only one who could show it, which happens to be the listing agent, right? And so it was getting very frustrating because it was happening so often. So NAR stepped in with Policy 8 and said, you know what, it's not in the best interest of your seller if you are the only one who gets to show that property and you're out there advertising it, which is very true, right? It makes us as agents look bad because we can't get our buyers in there, and we should have that in the MLS to be able to show that property. And so basically what the rules are for coming soons are you can have a coming soon listing. For my RealSource members, it's up to 7 days it can be. Does it have to be 7? No, it could be 2. But what it says is if you start advertising a listing and you're going to do it in a coming soon fashion, you have to put it in the MLS within 24 hours. So you have 24 hours to get it into the MLS. Then what it does mean, and that's from any type of advertising, whether it is a Facebook post, whether it is a postcard mailer, whether it's a sign in the window or on the lawn, doesn't matter. If you're advertising that, you have 24 hours to get it in if you're using that coming soon status. And what that means is in that coming soon status, absolutely no one, not the listing agent, listing brokerage, someone on your team, does not get shown in that coming soon status until the activation date. Every coming soon has an activation date listed on the coming soon of when it can be shown. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, the Policy 8 is the same nationwide, but every MLS may have a different amount of time that you have to either get it in, or it can be like some MLSs only allow you to have coming soon for 3 days, some of our vendor MLSs. So if you have questions on what your MLS policy is, do see your MLS. For my RealSource members, it can be coming soon up to 7 days. By the way, it can't be coming soon twice. So don't think you're sneaking one over on us. Every once in a while we'll hear, well, I'll just make it a coming soon and then make it a coming soon again. No, it doesn't work like that. Actually, on the end of day 7, it automatically at midnight turns into an active listing. So you can only have it coming soon one time, and it can be up to 7 days for my RealSource members, but you only have 24 hours to put it into the MLS. So that's important to know. And then the last thing I just wanted to show you as we close, as Taylor pointed out, we have a whole education section set up for you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're thinking, okay, how am I going to remember all this? Taylor was kind enough to put all of those links in where you could grab them. But I also want to show you, because 6 months from now when you can't find the link, right? If you go under resources, you will see a whole education section. And Taylor was just mentioning she's got this awesome photography class. I don't think I've said it. I think I've said it 20 times now. I don't think I've said it enough, though. Her photography class is coming up. And I got to tell you, if you don't register for it right away, you will not get in, because it is always, it fills up very quickly. So let me show you how to do that. Again, I know she put the links in there, but just in case you don't have the links a couple of months from now, we're trying to build that all in education, and that's under resources. Remember, your resources is kind of like your agent toolbox. So if you go to the education corner, this is where we have all the classes listed for the whole remainder of the year. So if you click into, let's say you want a class on Cloud CMA, you're like, oh, I really like that. There's a couple choices for times. All you need to do is click on the register here button. It'll take you right to the link to register, which will send you an email welcome. Just go down and put in your contact information. So we're trying to make it really easy so that you can find that information with one click. So you just go again to resources, education corner, and let's say that you want to sign up for Taylor's upcoming classes. Lisa also teaches, as we mentioned earlier, she's a great instructor. She teaches real estate. She's been doing real estate for 35 years, but she teaches our Realist and BS&A class for property information. And then if you want to sign up for Taylor's classes, those are here. We also have an exciting new class that Taylor put together on all the tools for low inventory. So everything you need to know how to use social media to build up inventory and to get more leads. And of course, upcoming Cuba Casa. So a lot of cool things coming. So make sure you check them out in the education corner. Lastly, where you find all of these recorded classes, in case you missed any part of today, just go back to, again, resources, education, click on those recorded webinars, and that'll take you right to that great YouTube channel that Taylor mentioned. And that's where all of our classes, you'll even see the date next to it, so you'll know the exact one that you attended. All right, did we miss anything? Did we miss anything, Taylor? I think we got it all in, and we actually got done early today. So that's, so we do have one question that just popped up. What is the rule to change the status to closed? Very, very good question. You have 48 hours to get that in as a close, so people aren't continuing to see it in the MLS as either active. Because remember, you now have other statuses. And the reason we keep that 48 hours is ABOs. If you're familiar with ABOs, they're accepting backup offers, but I really don't like them because they're technically pending and they're pretending to be active, quite honestly. There's a signed agreement. It's going to most probably close, but they're still showing up in an active category. So it's very important when agents are still trying to continue to show those properties that you change your status from ABO or pending to closed, so that the consumers out there looking on sites don't still see it as active and get their hopes up. So the rule is you have 48 hours. Now, if you are coming in from a vendor MLS, that may be different. Again, those rules sometimes are different. If you are a My RealSource member, you have 48 hours to change it from pending or ABO to a closed status. Okay. But good questions today. Had some good questions. So I think that is all that I have. What date do you enter? As for the close date should be the date the property was closed on. So again, you should be able to find that right on your closing statements. That's what we look at. If we find that something hasn't been closed out in 30 days, we'll ask for a copy of your closing statements so that we can adjust that date. Okay, so really good questions today. All right, that's all I have, Taylor. So if you have anything else, now's your time to put that in the questions. Or Taylor, if you have anything else, feel free to jump in there.
No, I don't. Great job today.
You too.
And any other questions, let us know, and hope to see some of the same names in our upcoming classes.
All right, well, it's great teaching this with you, Taylor. Can't wait to do it again for the low inventory class coming up. So it's going to be fun.
Yep. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Happy selling.